It never did. Not as long as I was there. No, no. Did absolutely without it. To this day, I have no time. I'm not good on telephones.
You still.
No,
I imagine
no.
there's telephones in Ireland in your house now.
Yeah.
Though, so.
Oh yes. Oh, cell phones and
Yeah.
X and berries and you name it. They are very up to it. Oh, yes.
I think Ireland was way ahead on cell phones than we were here.
Much more, yeah. Because for years they're texting. In fact, my just as a side thing, the auctioneer lad that just got married, John, he can use his cell phone. He can text in his pocket. He doesn't have to take it out at all. He can do all his writing. He knows exactly what he's doing, and it's in his pocket. But I guess auctioneers are trained well that way. I have no idea.
That's
But he's
amazing
gifted. Yep, yep, yep.
Yep. Tell me a little bit about what it would have been like in your house at a Christmas time.
Oh, very nice. We would always bring in a tree. Generally, a branch of a big tree was big enough, and we had a lovely bay window, and we'd put it, and we had real candles that we'd put on little stands, and we'd clip it onto the tree. And all the Christmas cards that came in, we'd put them on it, and anything we could find was put on the Christmas tree. And one year we had a New Year's Eve party. Just a local, asked all the locals, not realising it was New Year's Eve, until suddenly in the midnight, somebody said it's the New Year's Day. So we all went into song, and it lasted until, and we were quite young at that time when we gave the little party. And one neighbour was had a piano accordion, and he played for us. So we danced our night away, and that was very unusual in those years to have celebrated the New Year. It was definitely extraordinary. It was a great night. It was fantastic. So that was one unusual party time.
How old would you have been then, do you think?
I'd have been 15, 16.
Okay, so yeah. You could really appreciate
Oh yeah,
what it
oh
was.
yeah. I mean, and I'm taking a guess at that. I think so. Maybe 14, 15. And we'd always have a goose on Christmas Day. Turkeys, not that much. We raised turkeys to give to all of our family, our uncles and aunts, especially in Dublin. And as a young girl, I'd get on the bus from Mitchelstown, taking my 6 turkeys on the bus to Dublin.
Alive or?
They'd be wrapped, they'd be dead, they'd be plucked and ready. And then I'd be met in Dublin. I have no idea how I did it. And somebody would meet me, I guess, and help me carry these animals off the bus. And then they'd be taken around to the various, One was for the Cosgraves, who were the then ministers, the Taoiseach or whatever of Ireland. His family, my family knew them in Dublin, and we'd always give them one. And I forget who the other people were, but I was always impressed, or supposedly, I was supposed to be impressed because we knew the Cosgraves. Yeah, so that was...
That must have been an adventure. And then would you be able to spend some time in Dublin?
Oh yes,
got there?
oh yes, okay. Oh yeah, because I had an aunt in Dublin. The aunt who was the bridge champion, the European.
What was her name?
And her name was Mairead O'Neill. She was married to O'Neill, but she was an O'Callaghan like my mum. And she was also the health inspector for the schools in Ireland. That was her profession. But she became so good at bridge that she was an international European player. Played bridge with Omar Sharif.
Ooh.
Yeah, just have to throw that one in. And then wrote did all the bridge results for the Independent and the Press for so many years. And I would even take the paperwork in to the bridge. She'd drive, she couldn't park, so she'd get one of us to run, drop the stuff off, get back in. She was always happy with that. And so that was my Dublin then. That was lovely. I had another aunt who worked for the government in Dublin, so she had a beautiful house in Dublin as well. They have become much more beautiful now.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, meaning that they're very, very,
very,
very expensive. Yes, yes. It's still in the family that Mairead O'Neill's house is still, my sister inherited that, and she lives there. So
it's nice that those things happen.
It's kept it. I think it's probably the end, though. I think we're feeling it won't stay in the family. I think she'll probably give it to, donate it for some reason, because everybody's doing very well over there now. That may cause more problems than it would to. So.
Now, what was it like waking up on Christmas morning?
we would have a gift from Santa. Very exciting. The last year that my mum was alive, we spent it in Dublin, and I was about 6 at that point. And I remember getting a little tea set, a little china tea set. Was always at the end of the bed that Santa gave me, and that was very special. So we used it that day, and for drinking something from it, I'm not sure. So that was very cute. Yeah, no, very exciting. Christmas was very special. Very, my sister I have a sister who's a cordon bleu chef, Sheila. She's the girl that's in Dublin now, and she's a fabulous cook. So she always was. It was in her. Even in those years, she might have been 17, 18, but she was still a great chef, great cook. And so we always had wonderful food. That was very, very nice.
And now, would you have gone to church on Christmas Day? Or?
Oh yes, always. I remember going in a pony and trap, to mass, winter, summer, every Sunday, just a little.
And how far away was the church?
The church was about 2 miles, 2.5 miles, and we'd go to mass with a bunch of us, yeah. And making my first communion, I remember going in a pony and trap to the church.
Tell me about that. What was it like to do that?
Very exciting. I mean, very special. You'd have a little bunch of flowers with your little candle, little white dress, and they lit. It was a real candle, and they lit it, and that was very exciting when you were like 6 years of age to make first communion, and it was a very special day. Yes. Yeah, and my mom was alive for that, so I remember her taking me there, with my dad, and that was a very special day. I sort of, as I said, feel I was an only child, because they were all that. They were older,
yes.
And there was nobody younger than me, so I have a very interesting vision of my life and growing up. Yeah.
I suppose you were the baby of the family.
I was the baby of the family. Yeah.
The baby always stays the baby.
Yeah. And there is nobody younger, so it's rather selfish too. I think it is. Yeah.
I think in a large family that is the case.
Yeah.
In when you were in school, were you involved in sports or drama or?
Playing camogie. Camogie. Yeah.
Just because there will be some people that will view this that won't know what camogie is, can you tell us what that would be?
It's in the hurling, and the ladies' version of hurling, which is the Irish with the hurley stick, and they just call it camogie.
Okay. The rules essentially the same?
They're essentially the same, yeah.
And would that have been a school sport, or would that have been a...
School sport within the school. And we would play other, now especially when I was in boarding school, then we'd play other Dominican schools in the area. We'd play Sign Hill, or we'd play Cabra, because they were, play Dunleary if they had teams. And so it was fun. It was within the school though.
What was your position on the team?
I was a goalie.
Oh my goodness.
A goalie.
All
and
swirling at you.
And one of my things was, I remember getting my front tooth blown out with a ball. Oh yeah. So I've suffered with that ever since. Meaning teeth were not they didn't survive very good.
Oh my goodness.
So that's it.
Now, when you were in school, you were there for 4 years. How did you get home frequently during those times?
I would go home at holidays. Yes, there'd be a bus from Dublin that would bring me to Mitchelstown, and there was always a neighbour would come and get me and take me home. Yeah. Yep.
And summers, were you at home?
I was at home all summers then. Yes. When I got older, then of course they'd want me to be working, and I remember working for a very nice family in Dublin for a summer. As a nanny. Just fun out in Shankill in Dublin, and it was gorgeous. I got a taste of the good life then. Yeah, and liked it.
Spoiled you, huh?
It spoiled me.
So the church was an important part of your community in your everyday life?
Yes, huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Very, very, However, when I say huge, you'd never miss going to Mass, or you'd never miss going to confession, you'd never miss going to Holy Communion, and in those years you couldn't eat, so you might walk the 2 miles, and, still didn't help me to lose anyway.
Very swell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so...
Now, you lived in Ireland during the years that the war was going on. Do you remember anything about the war?
Now, are we talking about internal British North of
Well,
Ireland stuff, or are we
No,
talking about
no.
the war? I would not have. It would not have touched us at all. Either our parents kept it from us, and I never remember seeing anything that, except just maybe not having flour or having. I would not have been aware or interested or care. I'd none whatsoever. So I guess they just didn't. I didn't want to, I just didn't want to hear about it. That would be in the 40s, right, the early 40s. See, I was still very young. I was like 4 or 5 at that point.
Right.
And then I think within our family, my mom was getting sick at that point. So, and she had cancer for a couple of years before she died. So, of course, then that was consuming, I'm sure,
Yes.
that we didn't care.
Cancer we hear so much about now, but in those days it was a different kind of. I mean, it was cancer, but it was a different. People viewed it differently.
Oh, they did. You couldn't talk about it. Yeah, it was hush hush. It was terrible. It was the worst thing. Yeah, and then there was no cure. I mean, really, there was nothing. So now the only thing about the war that I did know, which is why my sister, the nun, became such a good linguist in German, a great scholar, is my aunt, one of my aunts who lived in Dublin, had this fabulous house, and she rented out the top floor to a doctor and his wife from Germany called Grabisch, Frau Grabisch, Doctor and Frau Grabisch. Frau was, I guess, Mrs. And they lived with her for many, many years. And my sister, Sister Martinez now, would visit there. And of course, because we were neutral in the war, the Germans came. And they taught her German. And, yes, I mean, she really learned. She became very, very good at it. So that was that little thing of the war that I would have been aware of that much, but not that that there was a big world out there at all. No.
It wasn't talked about, and you weren't aware of
no.
planes flying overhead or anything
No,
like that.
no. If they were, you see, we were down the country.
Yes.
We weren't aware. And like we had cows, so we always had lovely milk. We always had good stuff in that way. We didn't feel, and we knew how to live frugally, which you didn't, everybody did though. I don't think there wasn't anything unusual. No, everybody. Yeah. And nobody had money. It wasn't as though you had a big house and you had money. Nah, I mean, it was just didn't exist.
Well, when you said bartering, I think that
it was very good. Like even our help, the people who would help us, you'd give them things that you'd have in the farm, like eggs and milk and always, and maybe a little bit of money then. Yeah. I mean, the highlight of my father's time, when he lived long enough to marry Cathal and myself, to be at our wedding, to walk me up the aisle. And he said to Cahill's mum, the day of the wedding, he said, "Now I can go." And he was dead within a year.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that? Yes, that was a tough one. Yeah, but now I started that reason for some other reason, but it'll come to me. But he really, as I said, he was an outstanding man. I can never say enough about him.
Were you aware of your mother's illness? Were you aware that she was as sick as she was?
I was, but they didn't want us. She was taken to Dublin to be looked after by her sisters, because they were there and they got real help, and they didn't want to put her in a hospital. And they didn't think that we should be there, that would be bad for us. And that was the biggest mistake of their lives, because I really, really felt frightful about, I look back on it, it was children should be involved with what is going on within the family. Yeah. Because the day of her death, she was removed from Dublin. We met I hadn't seen her maybe in 6 months or a year, because she was so ill. We met the coffin in Thurles, halfway down. My family picked, an uncle and his son picked us up, took us up. We met the funeral. We drove by the house we had a couple of little housekeepers in those years, drove by the house. We paused for her with the casket, and then drove on. Now, it was tragic. It was very tragic that because she was so young, and leaving little ones after her again. So the neighbourhood was devastated by it. It was tough. But then he lived until saw us all frightfully successful. Yes. You'll say, to our way of thinking. Oh, yeah, doing very well,
established, yeah.
doing very well, yes.
So
Yes.
did your mother then not have, there was no wake for your mother at the...
Not at the home,
They
no.
just had been
Just in
moved
the
to Dublin.
church, yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So she had the funeral took place in home because
At home.
From her area.
Yes.
But she had
Passed away in Dublin, yeah.
When you was that the ordinary? That was not the ordinary
No,
way it would have
no,
been handled.
no,
in
exactly.
your area.
It's like when my father died. Now, this is hearsay because I wasn't able to afford to go back to his funeral. We could have found the money, died on a Saturday, be buried on a Monday, heard about it on Saturday, got the news on Saturday, could not get a flight. Could have gotten a flight on Sunday evening, would have missed the funeral.
Would have missed it anyway.
Would have missed it
It's
anyway.
very quick, isn't it?
It was very, in those years, it was very, very quick. So now with his funeral, because he was a TD, the Member of Parliament, you know, they all know, he was terribly well known. Well, the home place, they thought with the amount of thousands of people that came to his funeral, that the house would never stand up to the traffic that it was. Miles and miles and miles of people just that missed him, you know. Yeah, it was extraordinary. It was extraordinary.
And was that held
at the home?
You did?
At the home.
You did have
That was at the home. He died at home, yes.
He was
yes.
waked from the house.
He was waked from the house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been the more common way that things
It would be. Oh, and to this day.
Even now.
Oh, even now. I was in Ireland a couple of years ago to Una, my favourite sister Una Blackburn, and she's in Kilworth. And she, her husband Philip, our dearest brother-in-law in my life, is like a wonderful man again. He died at home, and the wake was at home. Yeah, and it's very lovely when that happens. It really is lovely, you know. Now, of course, they do take the body. The funeral parlour does take the body, and embalm it and brings it back.
Oh, they do embalm.
They do.
Yeah.
They do embalm it. Yeah. So yeah.
And then they still take it to the church.
Then they take it to the church, and when I was in Ireland, a neighbour died, and I went to the same thing. Yep, I just called into the house. There was a wake at the house, and kind of very interesting meeting people I hadn't seen maybe in 40 years.
Yes.
And one was Nan Clifford over the road. I said hello, and she looked great. It was lovely to see. Yeah.
My family is in Kerry, and it seems like when I'm there, that's one of the big social things that happens. It's on the radio twice a day or 3 times a day.
Absolutely.
Died and people are
Yes.
out of each other's
Yeah, and like that's the lovely thing of Ireland right now, even the Ireland that I adore and I love its success, and I'm so happy they're rich over there because, you know, why shouldn't they be? Have the right to live well and drive their BMWs and have fun. Tragically, they've got the power too quickly, and there is a lot of death in that because the young people have these huge cars and they really are a bit. But I'm so happy for them, you know, that they have become rich and
but
can
they
enjoy
still
it.
kept the traditions.
They keep the traditions, yeah. They're still very, and like the news is all so central. You're all so connected that any news that comes in Dublin, I can talk to Una down in Cork and say, "Oh, did you hear this?" And yeah, I mean, we almost know the same crossroads if there's a traffic jam. You know, you very still, because there are only 4 million people still in Ireland. So, yeah, there is that feeling of the 6 degrees of separation, that you know everybody, that everybody knows everybody else. You still get it, which I love when I'm back there as well. I do feel that I'm not isolated, that I don't know anybody. Now, I don't think our children going back will have that feeling because they've grown up here. Yes.
But I think you've done enough traveling back that...
Oh, they have a great connection, yeah. And then because we have our little cottage, they love to go back, and they really enjoy that too. They do.
Now, you have a picture there, I know, of your family. Isn't that a picture of your
Family.
family?
Yes, I'm not in it. I wasn't born yet.
All right.
So this was taken
And now that was taken at...
in Blarney because I had, my 2 aunts were chemists, went out to Australia, made some real money, I think, came back, bought Sunbury, this little house Sunbury in Blarney, became the chemists, they had the pharmacy in Blarney for 40 years.
Wow.
Well, my sister became a chemist, Eileen, and of course took over the pharmacy. Lo and behold, she gets cancer and dies. They have to sell the pharmacy because the aunts are long gone. Now her 2 daughters grew up, became chemists.
So now
So
it's back in the family.
it's not really, they're chemists in Cork, but they're still chemists. It
Yes,
stayed, it's
still
obviously in the family.
Yeah,
That's it.
That's
Yeah.
lovely.
So
and
that's
what is the big picture there?
that's of my dad's second wedding. Oops, to my mom.
All right.
There.
So there's your mother.
This is my mom,
mom.
and my dad, and then those are my 2 older sisters there. Sister Martinez and Sheila, who is the cordon bleu chef, is there. And then these would be cousins, I'm sure. And then my aunts and uncles are all in there.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very
Yes.
nice.
There.
That's lovely.
Thank you.
And you have another picture.
I do indeed. The pride. This is our pride and joy. This is our rat drum in Wicklow. We bought this little ruin with a great friend of ours, Pat and Sarah Dargan. They saw it for sale. They called us and they said, "We finally see it. It's for sale." And he said to Carl, "What will you pay for it?" And Carl said, "What is it? What do they want for it?" So I said, £35,000 for the ruin, a tiny lot. Yeah. And Pat said, "What will we offer them?" Offer them 35. And we got it. And who owned it? A priest in America. Didn't want. Now when he goes back, God knows, or his relatives, I bet he's as jealous as anything, because this is it now. Yes. Now it was a two family house. So Pat ended up with this door and this window is Pat's still, and they just rent it. It's a guest house, but this is ours. We don't rent it at all. It's ours.
Yes.
We go there and that's it.
Yeah.
Nobody, our friends can use it, but not.
And it's right on the road.
It's right on the road, right opposite the train station in Rathdrum and the police station. So we're well protected.
And you have property in the back.
Very tiny bit of property. Yeah, but it's pretty well kind of in the country. It was I think it was used from the train, the little train station right there beside us. And the reason we got it is that we can get off the plane in Dublin, take a bus into the station, Connolly. We can take a train to our door.
Oh, wow.
We don't need a car if we don't
want
want to. Yeah. But however, we do intend to get a car. And I was in Ireland this year and I did something that nobody does. I took my Irish driver's test. It is so important to get it in Ireland. They send you cards to congratulate you when you've passed. That my family are shocked that I passed. Shocked. I struggled. I went back to school. I have never studied anything so hard as taking my driver's test in Ireland. So, because we want a little car to put with our cottage. It has a little garage, and so we can. So I took my Irish test. I'm a star for the moment.
Now, you did tell me earlier that and you did refer to it, that you went to Italy. Now, at what point in your life did you go to Italy, and how did that come about?
All right, so we'll skip because this can take I got my education and I followed the Montessori. I specialised in Montessori in Ireland, and then
you went on to college in Ireland.
Everything was finished in Ireland, and I went on to Rome because within the family again we had another nun knew Maria Montessori, and she said, "Tess, you'd love teaching. Why don't you go into Montessori? So would you have to specialise in the Montessori method?" So I went to London. That was my first big trip.
And how old would you then now?
I finished maybe 21. So then I go to London, and this nun there had a school, and it was a Montessori school. So I was able to stay with her, do my internship in that school, and study Montessori at the college. The Montessori had a lovely school college in London. Mario Montessori was one of my professors. So he trained me, yes, which is another angle. One of the founders. Yes. Well, I loved Italy. I loved the Italian, the whole thing of Maria Montessori, and I found out a share about Italy. So I decided, I'll go to Italy and see what happens. So I knew a family, and I went as an au pair. And the typical au pair situation, hated the job when I got there. Got a job as a teacher, teaching English at the American school. But I still wanted to be an au pair to some family so I could get free board. So I applied, and who did I get a job with? Only Gina Lollobrigida. So I spent a year with her, and then a couple of years in other situations. So that was a highlight of all. It was incredible. That was great fun. Lived on Appia.
Where did she live?
In Via Appia Antica. in Rome,
Okay.
and out where the catacombs are. So if anybody should ever, they'll just look in 141, I think, 141 on Via Appia Antica's Gina's house there. And had a fabulous time there, lived with real glamour. And from there, then I got an invitation to come to America. Somebody phoned me, a friend of mine phoned me from Wilmington, Delaware. They were looking for a teacher, a Montessori teacher, because the scientists and all the doctors at the DuPonts in the DuPont company in Wilmington had gotten together as parents and said, we need a Montessori school because our children are brilliant and this is the only way to go. So I was one of the teachers they invited to come to America. So they got me my green card. I came out for a 2-year contract and I was paid. I argued about, I was making at the time in London, during the Italy-London mix-up time, I was making the equivalent of £1 a week or something.
Oh my goodness.
And I was offered.
And you were 20 years of age?
This is, oh yeah, because I was getting my board, you see, so it's kind of tricky. So I was arguing about, they were offering me thousands to come to America. I'm not taking, that's my phone.
That's all right, don't worry about it, just sit
Okay.
there and we'll keep on talking.
Can I turn it off?
Sure.
Because that thing might,
I never can find it.
this is ridiculous. I'm sorry, can you turn
That's
that
all
off?
right, just-
I'll leave it.
Just let
They'll
it-
get tired.
I should have mentioned
Get that out. So anyway, long story short, they paid me such great money in those years, $6,500 a year, paying my fare to America. Within, I came over in October. I had my green card given to me. Within 3 months, I had a new white Mustang car,
Now, what
a
was the year?
65.
1965?
1965 is
October
when I ended
65
up
is when
in
you came
America.
to America.
Yes. And October of 64, because in February of 65, I had a white Mustang. I couldn't drive. I had it delivered. I'd sit in it at night, and it had a stick shift. So I had to try and learn myself at night, and I'd go around the block in Wilmington. I can still see myself. I do first gear, second gear. Then I had to find somebody to take me to have my test, because I had a European license. You could get them by mail. Shenanigans. We knew how to break every rule. And from then on, I loved America. The moment I came to America, it was monopoly money. I didn't know what hit me. I just absolutely loved it.
Now, your dad was alive at this time,
Just, yes.
and so you came. What was his
Yes,
reaction?
he
when you-
loved it. He knew he loved the idea of my success in America. And at that time, because my uncle was in Seattle, we were, it was all very exciting. It was all, hugely exciting. And then after 2 years in America, I didn't go home the first year, because I met Cathal.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I needed some extra study, and I went to the University of Delaware for a while to catch up on various subjects that I was weak on. And then I went to Hunter College over that first summer, and caught up. I wanted to get my recognition, or whatever you call it, in Italian and in American history, which I'd never done. The new math. There was a lot of subjects like that I needed, and I was only